Ladies and gentlemen, Lab After Dark is starting shortly. Lab After Dark is starting soon.
I gotta be completely honest that not everybody was a fan of the last show. Surprise, surprise. Oh, and I heard about it too. No uncertain terms. Not a surprise at all. I wasn't even a fan of it. I would.
Lab After Dark is starting soon.
What's up, little Miss Sharon? Good to see you, Holly. I know, Martha. It's unbelievable, huh? Who would not be a fan of that? Besides me. And trust me, I was not. I was not a fan.
I was actually just sitting down to pee, but whatever, you know.
What's the point in causing the eruption of each other?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what there wasn't to like.
Lab After Dark starts now.
Had everything an unsuspecting. I don't know, man. Whatever. Whatever. Yeah, it is Summer's birthday, huh? Let's see. Yeah, Cooter in what was it? Cooter in Orlando. You ever heard of a Cooter in Orlando? And that checks out. You know. Welcome to Lab After Dark. Way after dark. Way later than. Well, not way later, but later than normal, I guess. You know, like he's distracting back there, you know. He ruffles or constantly, you know, he's like constantly rustling. Just lots of movement. You thought it was informative? Well, look, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I learned anything, but if I did, it was information that I wasn't looking to learn, but that's okay. You know, look, what's that old saying? You got to crack a couple eggs to make an omelet, and by God, can I make an omelet? I mean, I can make an omelet, like the perfect omelet. I got a big hike coming up this weekend. I'm nervous about that. You know, it's like 7 miles. It's like a 7-mile hike. It's like my first hike in, I don't know, years. I haven't been hiking. I don't even like hiking. I'm just going to do it. I don't know. I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to hike. And, you know, I'm sure something terrible will probably happen. Like I'll roll my ankle, fall down a trail. I think last time I was hiking is when I impaled myself at a place called Sequoia Park while running through the woods as a wee lad. Well, I mean, I don't think I was that little, but so who knows? Yeah, I don't even know. That's a great question, Abe. I don't know. 7 miles. I think it's 7 up and 7 back. So it's probably 14 miles. I didn't even think about that. I probably should have asked before saying, sure, I'll do it. But I'm going to anyway. Yeah, I think I can handle it. Probably. Get my tactical backpack. Have my bow and arrow ready in case I run into a turkey. That's a distinct possibility, too. There could be wild turkey. So I will have a bow and arrow handy just in case, you know. Just in case. I swear I did not say I have a wee crush on you in another chat. Seven. Nah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's uphill both ways. Probably just one. And, because, I mean, I remember, like, hearing that crap as a kid, like, well, you know, it's 7 miles, or, you know, I had to, remember when people would say, I had to walk to school uphill both ways. Like, how is that possible? I've never once understood how you would end up walking uphill both ways. Why not just go back the same way that you came? Why would you take a different way home? That doesn't make any sense. you can't walk uphill both ways if you take the same route. That's just bad route management. And I never felt bad for anybody telling me that they had to walk to school uphill both ways, because that's somebody who should probably spend more time in school. But you think about it, uphill both ways. It's too much. People are always like, uphill both ways. There's no such thing. That's just dumb. Makes no sense. And so I think about that sometimes too. Unless you live on a hill and have to go down then up. Well, if there's any down to it whatsoever, then you're still not walking uphill both ways. It's still not like that's still not happening, you know. Right. Yeah, I get it. Thank you, Cinderella. It snows in the summer? It's a joke, Josh. And I'm going to say the same exact thing that you just said to me. It's a joke, Cinderella. Definitely in a snowstorm. Yeah, I know. I get it. It's facetious. But people did say that, and it was stupid then, and it wasn't funny. I mean, jokes typically have to be fun. I didn't think it was funny. I just thought it was stupid because I took everything extremely literal. And whose chat did you say that in? You can say who it is. Hills and Wild Turkey. I know. I've been worried about that turkey for quite some time now. I still dream about that turkey. Lady Freedom. I gotta stop in over there. It's been a little while. I listen to her show sometimes. I like her. She's a nice lady. Somebody giving her shit again? Somebody picking on her? Seems to be a lot of that going on. A lot of picking on people. Naughty, naughty. Naughty, naughty. Why can't people just leave people alone? So what is she getting picked on for? I think it seems like she minds her business to me. I mean, I don't know. I remember when White Boy was... By the way, did you guys hear that Ernie had a difficult time? Nah, she doesn't have to tell me. In booking, I don't know if you guys heard about that, but he didn't do so hot. How's she going to tell me? I don't talk to her. Yeah, so there was a press release by the Medway Police Department, and it said, news release for immediate release, incident date January 31st, 2026. Kentucky man arrested after reported armed barricade was live streamed. A Kentucky man is scheduled for arraignment today in Wrexham District Court as a fugitive from justice and for charges filed by the Medway Police Department after the man became combative and assaulted officers who were trying to bring him to the hospital for mental health purposes on Saturday, January 31st. The department received multiple calls reporting that a man later identified as Ernest Shell, age 46, of blah, 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 Kentucky, was armed with a knife and barricaded in a bathroom at 10. I'm not going to say the address because that's not important to me. The callers, Lisa K., reported that the man live streaming on his YouTube page and that people were concerned for his safety. It gets better. Dispatch located the YouTube live stream and identified the man as Shell. Thousands of people were watching the, I wouldn't say, come on, thousands. Who was, okay, let's see. Who was wanted on an arrest warrant. Thousands of people were watching the live stream and engaging via comments. Officers were able to make contact with Mr. Shell, who immediately put his knife down, and through de-escalation were able to take him into custody. Officers initiated a mental health evaluation due to Mr. Shell's condition. I was watching. There was like 300 people. It's gotten thousands of views, but there wasn't thousands of people watching. I mean, let's not church it up, okay? Okay. Officers initiated a mental health evaluation due to Mr. Shell's condition and behavior, and information shared by persons who interact with him regularly. Mr. Shell became combative in the department booking room and was forcibly transported, excuse me. One officer was injured and Mr. Shell was not injured. Thank God. Thank God Mr. Shell wasn't injured. Mr. Shell was eventually evaluated and transported to Bridgewater State Hospital. He will be arraigned in Wrentham District Court today on fugitive from justice charges. Jesus. And charged for assault and battery on multiple police officers. Welcome to prison, Ernie. But wait, there's more. It gets worse. I don't know if he was completely dressed. Probably not. Oh, there's more charges than that. Here, listen to this. Throughout the afternoon, clinician Ryan worked to obtain further information through a family member, as well as additional. Oh, it gets worse. Trust me. Wait. How are you gonna Karma? How are you gonna tell everybody? It's part of the show. Killed the flow. Another live stream. Yeah. Let me see here. No, I don't know what happened to the gerbil. I'm not really sure. I know. Karma just completely spoiled the shit out of what I was going to tell you. Throughout the afternoon, Shell's forensic. During the time between Shell entering cell number 3 and later being removed from the cell, he was observed through department security camera and checked with a key fob. I don't know what checked with a key fob. What the hell does that mean? Regularly, Shell defecated on the floor of the cell, climbed up on the toilet, and smeared his own feces on the clear plexiglass covering of the camera. Shell urinated all over the floor and at one point attempted to flush the cell blanket in the toilet. An animal. I turned the water source for cell number 3. I turned the water source for cell number 3. I turned it off. Okay. Shell was observed in various states of manic behavior, covering himself with a blanket and hiding under it on the floor, or pacing for extended periods of time on the bench within the cell. So he's like walking back and forth on the bench, like a I don't know, a high wire act or something. Shell was observed urinating and defecating on the floor on multiple occasions. Damn. Oh, wait, there's more. Officer Harris held a clear plastic riot shield from Cruiser K9 to Officer blah blah and blah blah would be handcuff team, and Officer blah blah and I would be physically restraining Shell. We made final attempts to direct Shell away from the door, to put the water bottle down, to which he did not comply. All officers garnered surgical masks with nitrile gloves in order to provide basic body substance isolation. Officer blah blah opened the door cell. Officer blah blah entered first with the shield. So they got a riot shield. They're having to take a riot shield into his cell because... Let me just make sure. So he's got like a water bottle full of God knows what. I followed Officer Blah to turn this right here. Okay. Much better. It's I don't know, unlock your reality or some shit like that. Officers opened the cell door, entered with the riot shield. I followed Harris. I was trying not to say the names, but whatever. Shepard and whatever. As officers entered cell number 3, Shell intentionally threw a plastic bottle containing liquid towards officers at close range. Based on the extensive presence of urine and feces throughout the cell, including on the floor walls and Shell's body, officers reasonably believed the liquid contained body fluids. It's Unlock Your Reality, I think, is his name. Do I think it will affect his run for governor? Probably not. I mean, he'll probably get more votes because of it, to be honest. I mean, okay. It's disgusting. Officers were later advised that Shell may be positive for HIV and had a history of intravenous drug use. Due to the exposure risk, officers were required to undergo biohazard decontamination procedures, secure contaminated uniforms, and equip a report. Equipment and report to the hospital for medical exposure protocols. I mean, absolute nightmare. What a nightmare job that is to have to deal with that. Holy shit. Absolutely crazy to have to deal with it. I don't care if he's unwell or not. That's wild shit. It's just crazy. Our efforts were immediately counterproductive due to the amount of urine and feces on the ground. I believe all officers slipped and or lost footing and fell at one point or another. Officers attempted to use hand controls to secure and restrain Shell from kicking and resisting, with failing efforts as we were unable to obtain traction or leverage. On Shell's slippery skin due to the amount of bodily fluids on him. At one point, Shell was kicking and resisting an officer slipping so much that the only officer, Blank, and I were able to maintain a hand on him. Officer blah blah was able to gain leverage by grabbing the chain of his handcuffs and dragging Shell's right arm towards the door of the cell. I was able to maintain a grip on Shell's left arm. As officers attempted to maintain any sort of control of Shell, I advised them that I would be spraying him. Shell's actions occurred after prolonged and unsuccessful verbal de-escalation attempts. His refusal to comply with lawful commands, combined with the intentional throwing of suspected bodily fluids, created an immediate risk to officer safety and health. So, it's 100% real. And that's going to be another major charge. I don't think that's it. Hold on. I think there's more. How could there be more? There is. I would be okay. So his refusal to comply, blah blah blah. He got more charges today. Was he being bad again today? All right. So necessitating physical intervention and the deployment of a chemical spray to gain control and prevent further exposure. I motioned to the officers to get out of the way, unholstered my department issued Sabre red crossfire spray and did a quick 2-second spray directly onto Shell's forehead and eyes. I would have loved to see that. This proved to be momentarily effective as Shell's behavior changed from resisting and kicking to attempting to shield any further spray. Officers were then able to grab a hold of Shell by his limbs and physically lift and place him onto an awaiting ambulance stretcher. Wow. Okay. Officers were then able to grab Shell by his limbs, physically place him onto the awaiting ambulance stretcher. And Deputy Chief Irwin assisting with strapping down and restraining Shell with soft restraints. Shell was handcuffed in front of his body and handcuffed to the stretcher. Wow. So, anyway, that was what happened after the video ended of those nice officers taking him into custody. And it sounds like, I mean, look, you have to be mental or in some sort of mental state to act that way. I mean, if you just act, but I'm not going to make one bit of an excuse for him at all. Because it's out of control. Like that is just crazy. And I know people go, well, he's mentally ill. Yeah, well, whatever. What do you want me to, what do you want me to say? Well, that's okay since he's mentally ill. Mentally ill from shit that he's been doing, That's great. That's just nuts. That's just great. I mean, think about being those officers. Think about that. Like, think about going home. Go, yeah, I was, well, there are people that believe that too. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a clinician, but anybody that acts that way isn't well. They're not right in the head. And like a lot of it is self-induced, but I mean, think about it. Like, just think about those corrections officers. Josh, in that paper you were reading, tells you they had to call in a special company to clean all that up, and all the officers had to shower and throw their clothes away, and everything will work. I mean, of that, I have no doubts. I mean, that's, I wouldn't say that that's a normal day, but it's not abnormal in a lot of those places, prisons, jails. But I don't know how often it happens. I know that it does happen. I know that they're just some psycho people that do that. And it's wrong on every level. And you know, par for the course, I guess. Yeah, I mean everything about it's a violation, and you unless there is zero justice, unless there is a district attorney that has no spine, unless there's a prosecutor out there that falls for his bullshit, which is completely possible, he should be looking at a cool at least 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 10. That him throwing bodily fluids as somebody that has HIV could be considered attempted murder. And probably should, because that's what it is, if you're asking me. I mean, that's at least felony assault and battery on a peace officer. You know, you may not see Ernie Shell walking the streets for some time, and that's probably obviously for the best. Minimum felony assault and battery. You know, I don't think that they would give him an attempted murder charge for it, but they very well could. They very well could go. I mean, it would probably get downgraded to felony assault on a peace officer, which carries a higher crime than a civilian. You know, should it? I don't know, but it does. I'm not here to argue that. But, you know, Richard Allen did something similar, but I don't think he actually I don't think that Richard Allen attacked officers. Maybe he did. I can't remember. But yeah, he defecated all over his cell and said, you know, I don't know. No, apparently not. You know, we talked about that as well. No. Couldn't he be charged for attempted murder for not telling whoever he has relationships with his status too? Unfortunately not. Especially if you know, I mean, that's a whole different sub issue. Yes. That's what happened. But, you know, it's just, and, you know, look, I'm not, do I think it's crazy? Yeah, I truly, and I know that you guys don't either, but I don't find any of it funny. I think it's horrific that what he was doing to those people. And, you know, I know there are people out here that are talking about it and reporting on it with glee and all that shit. But it's terrible. I mean, it's just terrible. It's just a terrible thing. You know, those poor officers. That's really who I feel bad for. I don't really feel bad for Ernie. Yeah, but I mean, if you know, it gets in your, you know, it could get in your eye. It could get, you know, if you have, even just have a cut on your hand. I mean, it doesn't take much to be exposed and to catch it. I mean, it's not, it's just something, it's just a risk that should not have to be present. You know, I'm not saying that it's like super easy to, you know, I don't know that much about it, to be honest with you. I just know that when Magic Johnson was in the NBA, that people did not want to play with him even after he was diagnosed because they were terrified, and they're like, well, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. He ends up retiring basically because of it. And it's just a risk that nobody should have to be taking. He should have to disclose it to officers, to, you know, and I don't even know if you have to police officers or not, but if you're not, you know, that's another morality issue. And but holy shit, I mean, just a wild mess. Donna, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for your super sticker. Imagine if he infected one or more of them. Yeah, I mean, that seems like what he was trying to do, unfortunately. And, you know, we went with it. It was kind of fun loving at first, like when he was at the Minnesota protest. You know, we were all kind of laughing, and, you know, but I mean, the whole thing just took a dark turn. But I've seen him be bad before, but I've never seen him this bad personally. And I've known Ernie for quite a while. I mean, not like known, we don't like hang out, but I've been familiar with Ernie, and you know, for at least 5 years. You know, it's so it's a sad situation all around, but yeah, you got to have pretty crappy morals. You know, there's a lot of bad things that you can do, but trying to infect somebody with a horrible disease, and look, and it's not like there is no cure. There's medicine that suppresses, but there's no cure. Like if you weren't able to get the medicine, you would get sick and die. You have to take the medicine. And if you're not able to get it, for whatever reason, then it would eventually kill you, and it will give you issues the rest of your life. It's not something that people go, well, it's not that big. It's a big deal, man. It's a huge deal. I mean, it's like hepatitis or something like that. Although I think there is an actual cure for hepatitis now, but I don't know that to be a factoid. I don't think. It's a vicious, degenerative disease. And Angel Wings, thank you so much for becoming a member. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that the hepatitis does have a cure, but you know, there's no actual cure for HIV. So there's, you know, medicine and treatment, but it's just a terrible thing. And to weaponize that is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Give me a second here. I don't know what the hell's going on. Hold on. 1 second, please. Hey, where'd the thing go? Overlay. Oh, there it is. Hold on. How annoying is that? All right, that's better. Sorry. So I want to read you this comment that somebody left about the last show too. Which, by the way, I look, and I understand. I get it, but geez. I don't see myself. Where did I go? Ta-da. Where's the comments? Yeah, I knew had a family member get hepatitis through a blood transfusion. That's a terrible thing too. That was years ago too. Let's see here. I mean, I got scolded. Absolutely scolded. Unless somebody deleted it, but I don't know if anybody would delete it. Basically, what it said was that basically what it said was that they thought the show was inappropriate. They said that it was inappropriate and such, and that they like the lab, but they're not a fan of Lab After Dark anymore. Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, I've just never understood the thought process of like, if you don't like the subject matter, and by the way, I wasn't exactly a fan of it either. But you just like, you don't have to watch. You know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was just sort of where I was. I wish I could find the whole thing. I wonder if a mod deleted it. I don't know if mods. I think mods can delete comments. Let me see here. Here's a good one, though. Here's a good one. Wow, I didn't even notice you were still on YouTube. Congrats, you deserve it. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Wow, I didn't even notice you were still on YouTube. Congrats, you deserve it. Deserve what? What does that mean? I mean, I think that's an insult, isn't it? I think that's an insult, but I could be wrong. I didn't feel the love from that. Didn't even notice I was on YouTube. I don't even know who that person is. So anyway, but that was congrats, you deserve. I don't know what that means. What do I deserve? I think so. I think I deserve it, but I don't know what that means. Congrats, you deserve it. Deserve what? What the hell does that mean? Didn't even know you were on YouTube still. That's good. I mean, it's a weird comment, but yeah. So, like I said, and I've had many run-ins with Bernie and many disagreements. Does sound kind of creepy, doesn't it? You deserve it. What do we deserve? What? We all deserve it. Whatever it is, we deserve it. It's kind of creepy. Let me check something really fast here. I don't know. I deserve it. Oh, shit. You deserve it. Do I? What is it? Excuse me. Maybe they didn't like the name of my sort by. You know, I just responded wonderful. I was like, I don't know what the hell that means. See if there's any held. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. So a moderator did delete it because it says removed by moderator. And I get it, but it's fine. Hey, Josh, I really liked your show when you have Chris and Dr. Gary on. This show was gross and very inappropriate. Not a fan anymore for Lab After Dark. Damn. That sucks. And then somebody said, holy shit, I don't even know what to comment. Whatever. I'm not mad or anything. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I get why somebody would do it. Oh yeah. He always does. That's his bread and butter. Now his bread and butter is going to come on a prison tray. Or maybe like a psych ward prison tray, or I don't know. Some sort of prison tray. Wouldn't that be like calling into a radio station and telling them you're not going to listen anymore because you don't like the song they played? Yeah. I'm just surprised that they hung in as long as they did. That I didn't understand. I didn't didn't really care that way. Well, it's not there anymore. Oh, dude. I don't get as many negative comments as I used to, but like these, I don't know if you guys remember. You suck, Josh. Trying to, this is from a while ago. I used to do these things they were called John Deere letters, and it was like people that were saying peace out to the show, and I always found those kind of funny. Josh, you're a sleaze, always will be. You should go back to plagiarism. How is this helping with finding a missing boy? The Heinrich Kramer in you is showing with your bobbing for apples remark. I don't know. I don't remember. What the hell is the bobbing for apples remark? I don't remember that one. Bobbing for apples? What the frig does that mean? Well, Josh, you continue to show more and more that you well recognize the others in your pack. I used to appreciate your content and point of view since you've tripped all over Seth Rogers and Tony Mathis. These are old ones. You now seem to have taken on their personality of being obtuse. Obtuse? I've lost weight. I used to enjoy your content and respect you. I'm ashamed to say that now, as are many others, because we know that you know what lies and distractions are taking place, and yet you sit there letting it all go on without making the goons clarify or correct. You're no longer credible, you know. So, I mean, I've had my share of that and like a lot of people, but yeah. What's up, Rod? Good to see you. I hear Otis back there being weird. Oh, dude. Yeah. During, are you talking about like Sebastian's case? You know what? I don't think I've ever done clickbait in my entire life. I don't think I ever would either. Well, I know I wouldn't because I don't like when people do it. Mary, thank you for gifting 5 Lab After Dark memberships. Let me see. There's major clickbait around. Yeah, they were. They really were ruthless during that time. It got bad. Member for 9 months. Oh God, yeah, some of the Don Wells interviews. I'll still never forget that time he called into the show and just went like ape shit on me for like 20 or 30 minutes. Probably. I don't know. I'm not sure what they mean. Honestly, I don't know what they mean by it. I don't think so. You know what, Rod? And to be honest with you, is quite the opposite. I think Sebastian's case got the recognition it did in part because of me. I was one of the very early on ones to pick it up right after Trevor Lee did. And I would talk to Trevor about it before anybody else was talking about it. And when I say I was like one of the first, I mean I was like second. We blew that case up, and I regret it thoroughly. Thoroughly regret the way that it went down. And you know, but I thought that it was a case that really needed, you know, it's the same thing with the Michael Vaughn case. Most of the most cases that I decide to pick up on usually get a lot of run because I don't know why they just do. And so it's very touchy. because of what it turned into was just something that I just did not expect. And I didn't expect it. And it still rages on today. Still rages on today. You don't like the breaking news. I don't either, you know, but as long as people keep showing up, they'll keep putting breaking news, you know, they'll do that all day. Breaking news. People fall for it. Not even they fall for it. It's just, I mean, some do, but they, you know, what are you supposed to say? It's sad, to be honest. But you know, I wasn't around for the Watts case. I mean, I knew about the Watts case when it was happening, but I wasn't on YouTube or anything, and I heard that was just a shit show. One of the most horrible cases that you could imagine. But I wasn't around for that, and I heard it was just wild. That's what I heard. I mean, people still talk about it today. They still talk about that Nicole lady. Like, there's videos all the time about his lover, and it's like the constant. Yeah, it was. You're right. It was straightforward, but yeah, it was straightforward. It absolutely was. Unfortunately, it got twisted into a bunch of things that it's always this. It's always this conspiracy laden thing. You know, there's more people involved. There's more, you know, I don't know. No, Peyton couldn't make it today or tonight. He had an appointment and was busy, so I believe Thursday he's going to come on and pitch his idea or ideas or whatever it is that he has for the show. Yeah, you know, I wasn't around for that one either. I wasn't around for that. Shit. What was it? I mean, Summer's case was probably my first like active, well, not active, but before I got to YouTube, I was already digging on some like cold cases, which hopefully, like I said, hopefully I'll have my documentary out by the end of the year on the Karen Mitchell case that I've looked into for about 6 years. 6 years. It's been 6 years. So hopefully it'll be done this year. And I also have another documentary that I have working on with some other people. But I don't know when that one will be done, if it's going to be done this year. I hope so. I mean, I want it to. There's no reason it shouldn't be. Unless Peyton's doing the editing, then it'll be a lot longer. But let's see.
We do.
I wanted to play this. I haven't really been covering or watching this one, but I am curious because this case seems really odd. Savannah Guthrie's mother, Savannah Guthrie. Did they find this
believe
lady?
that
Did they find the mother? Say here.
Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at.
We are following new information about what was found inside the home of Nancy Guthrie, the mom of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie. The sheriff in Pima County, Arizona, is now saying that he believes Nancy was taken from her home against her will in the middle of the night.
What the
We'll talk about the new leads that investigators are following in the frantic search for the 84-year-old woman. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Somebody's trying to get money by kidnapping this lady. Well, I don't know who it is. This is the first time I'm really hearing about it, but I would assume that it's probably a family member who's the prime suspect. That's just my guess. What family member? I'm sure I don't know. Probably an in-law. Okay, I'll play that. Oh, really? So,
Hey guys, real quick before we start this episode of On the Case, I want to talk about our partner and sponsor, Morgan & Morgan.
maybe I don't know if I can play Ashley Banfield or not.
America's largest personal injury law firm. They have more than 1,000 attorneys who have recovered $25 billion for more than you go willingly. Case County, Arizona. Quote, she didn't go willingly. Sheriff Chris Nanos said that to multiple media outlets while talking about the case of Nancy Guthrie. The 84-year-old woman is still missing, and members of law enforcement are searching for answers as to who would take her from her home, reportedly in the middle of the night. The sheriff gave an update a short time ago where he talked about reports.
All right, maybe. Well, hold on. Maybe I can play Banfield. I mean, I don't care either way. Stunning new twist. Savannah sisters car sees. Oh shit. Okay, hold on. Let me play this. This is the most up to date. Thank you for sending me that.
Information on the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother in Tucson, Arizona. I have spoken with a impeccable law enforcement source who has informed me, with his knowledge of the investigation, of some extraordinarily serious pieces of information about this crime scene. I can tell you that Mrs. Guthrie had cameras, plural, at this home, and that they were smashed. You may have heard Brian Enton from News Nation talking earlier and asking Sheriff Chris Nanos a question in the news conference. And again, today I'm recording on February the 3rd. It's a Tuesday. The press conference that was early in the day.
Who are they trying to extort? Savannah? Does Savannah have that kind of extortion money?
Brian asked the sheriff, the camera on the front of the house is missing. And the sheriff said, we are trying to get into the companies that, are proprietors of this kind of cloud information to get that, and said by today he did not have that information, did not have whatever was recorded. But I can tell you they are Nest cameras. They are Nest cameras, plural, and that whoever did this may have smashed those cameras, plural. Yeah. So they're not there, presumably because law enforcement took those smashed cameras as evidence. I can also tell you I've got information about which door in the house was actually left open. There's been some erroneous reporting about some things. I now have the information about that. I can tell you about blood in the house. I can confirm. Brian Enton has
Oh, shit. There's blood in the house.
some incredible reporting and pictures of blood outside the house. He's going to join me in a moment. We're going to talk about that. I can also tell you whose car has been towed into evidence. And I can tell you that there is a family member who is being heavily looked at right now as a potential suspect. I'm going to bring that all to you in a moment. There's more information about Nancy's pacemaker. You probably have heard up until now
Oh, my God.
that Nancy Guthrie had a pacemaker and it disconnected from her Apple devices, her Apple Watch, her Apple phone, which were left in the home at about 2:00 in the morning. And that is a significant time. And I will tell you why, that it is extraordinarily instructive to this investigation in terms of narrowing to a window. I'll explain why in a moment. Don't think that the pacemaker stopped working because she died. That's not it. The separation of Bluetooth between the things that the pacemaker was linked to, the Apple Watch and the phone. When they get out of range, you take your AirPods, you walk out, you leave an AirTag behind, you get a notice, you're disconnected. That's more what this is about, but the timing of it is specific to narrow down the investigative window. So I'm going to get into all the details of all of these little.
Great. So an 83-year-old woman was kidnapped that has a pacemaker. And there's blood.
Pieces of information that I told you because I've just touched the tip of the iceberg, but I also want to get you up to speed on all the information that came out today from a few different sources. Number one, from the sheriff himself, who held a news conference and answered questions. And then also from Brian Enton, because he got some great information. And as I mentioned, he's going to be up in just a moment with me. We're going to talk about all his findings. So John Edwards is the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Tucson. He joined.
I mean, honestly, what are the chances? First of all, I don't know how long has she been missing? And second of all, you're just going to keep her tied up or hidden away, or frig, man. Some sick shit.
Sheriff Chris Nanos for the news conference today. Again, it's February 3rd, Tuesday. They held this update, but they didn't give a lot of information. They just said, basically, this is to answer your questions in the press. And I can tell you that we found out this is not a gated community. Okay, that was one report that came out. It's not a gated community. It's also very dark and there are no streetlights. So very hard to see anything that might have been driving up and down those roads. The properties are huge, right? They're anywhere between 1 and 4 acres each. So more rural, don't think city, lit up, neighbor to neighbor sees everything. Your ring cam can see the street. It's not like that. Not everybody's ring cam can actually see the street from where they are on these big properties. The sheriff today said Nancy Guthrie's life is in jeopardy. Could be a couple reasons he said that. Number one, medications were left behind in the home. Medications that she would need within 24 hours could be fatal. And it's now 72 hours since the last time.
And you got to understand that whoever did this, whoever kidnapped her, they're looking at an automatic life sentence, whether she's dead or alive. That's important to realize, that whoever did this is looking at an automatic life sentence, whether she's alive or not.
She was seen. So that could be why he said her life's in jeopardy. Or he could have said it because I now have definitive sourced information saying that there was, in fact, blood inside and outside the home. So blood inside the home is scary because we now know she was taken against her will. Kidnapped was what the sheriff told me last night when I did my episode before. So blood inside the home, kidnapped forcefully, taken forcefully. That could probably be part of the reason why her life is in jeopardy. And Brian Enton's going to show you the pictures of the blood outside the home that he discovered today as well. The media has helped generate a lot of leads, the sheriff said. That's really important. He said, if you've got any information, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you know anything, even if it's tiny, the tiniest thing can lead to the biggest thing. The sheriff has said it's been helpful. They do not know what she was wearing when she was abducted, when she was kidnapped and taken from that home. They don't know if there were one or more kidnappers. Any indications she's still alive? Sheriff said, no idea. Can't tell you that.
Jeez.
Is there a threat to the public? We were a little confused by the answer before. I think what he was trying to say was that we feel like this is an unusual circumstance. We don't think that this is going to be a serial kidnapping or whatever else has happened to Mrs. Guthrie, but there's someone out there that did this. So yeah, the threat is out there. He's not going to go as far as they did in Idaho early on and say there's no threat to the public, because Brian Koberger was out there for, over 6 weeks and he's a threat to the public. But it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like there was no threat. It didn't feel like there was a big threat. So take that the way you will. Were there any valuables taken, ATM cards? Sheriff would not say. Sheriff wouldn't say, was there forced entry? I can tell you definitively there was absolutely forced entry. The pacemaker information, they didn't want to talk a lot about it, but I will tell you, my reporting, my source says that the 2 a.m. separation, when the pacemaker stopped responding to the devices it was connected to, the Apple phone, the Apple Watch, that is the time they are narrowing down this kidnapping to. Yes, she was last seen at 9:45, but the kidnapping, they are pegging it to that moment, because that is when the pacemaker that's inside the girl, the woman, the elderly mother who was taken out of that house, it's separated. And so that is what they are now narrowing the disappearance time down to, according to my law enforcement source with knowledge of this investigation. Pacemaker separates 2 a.m. That's when they believe the actual kidnapping happened. The house was turned back over to the family yesterday after 6 p.m. Again, that would be Monday, February 2nd. They processed everything. Crime scene tape went up, done with the residents, turned back over to the family, but nobody washed the blood off the front steps up to the front door. And Brian Enton was able to go up and look at it because it's not a crime scene anymore. You're going to talk to Brian in a moment about that. I think I mentioned this before, but if I didn't, they are waiting for the camera information and very frustrated. Police are very frustrated by how long it's taking to get the Nest company. I learned that it is the Nest company. It's not Ring Cams, it's not Ring.com. It's Nest cameras that were out front that were smashed. They are waiting for the corporate Nest executives to yield that information back to the sheriffs. Listen, 72 hours. It's been a long time. I can understand why the sheriff would be frustrated that it's taking this long. This was at, again, 1:30 today. It's about 7 hours ago. So that might have happened in the last 7 hours. Maybe the sheriff has that camera information.
So it says here, doctors can trace and monitor pacemakers remotely using wireless technology. And besides monitors allowing them to track battery life, device functionality, heart data, most modern devices in the U.S. are cloud connected, sending information automatically to healthcare providers. So that's probably how they're going to locate her. And
now, and with those cameras being smashed, right? That's evidence. All of that is evidence, right? What was the tool used to smash them? What did it look like? All of that. And so when Brian Enton asked the sheriff, the cameras are missing, and the sheriff wouldn't go there, clearly the police have taken those cameras, smashed as evidence, and those are now in evidence lockup as part of this investigation. But again, I can't reiterate enough how dark this area is. No street lights, dark and rural. Whoever smashed those cameras could very well have been completely cloaked, and that may not help a lot. Maybe you'll see someone's gate. Maybe the exterior lights were off on the home. Who knows? Depends on what kind of Nest cam she has. Does it show night vision? I mean, there's lots of different levels that you can get. Who knows what information that will yield? Whoever smashed those cameras, what will we see? What kind of, right-handed, left-handed, walking up? What was the gait? Does it look like a man? Does it look like a woman? Hopefully that could have been ascertained before the cameras actually ended up being smashed. It's very, very
Is there a
disturbing because that is
ransom note?
so completely planned, right? This isn't some random, drug addict who's just looking to rob a house. This is something far more premeditated. If the cameras, plural, are smashed, whoever did this knew there was more than one. I am going to have all of this for you in exquisite detail in just a minute. I do have to just tell you this. I have sponsors that make this podcast possible.
But we don't.
I'll put an end to that. Get case to give Thursday regular update. The station is not yielding enough money for the
That right there, folks, is called a mid-roll sponsorship read.
sheriff to feel as though he
She gets you. That's
needed to give more regular updates because he said, I'm not giving another one for 2 days.
right, baby kisses.
Not until Thursday, February the 5th. Today's the Tuesday, the 3rd. Unless warranted, unless something happens. Something happened today when Brian Enton was standing right outside in front of Nancy Guthrie's house that was unique and interesting and may have been information tipped. I'll tell you that in a moment, and I'll show you the pictures from the sky. There was a chopper up ahead. So I'll tell you that in just a moment. But it was super fascinating that the sheriff wouldn't confirm blood evidence, but Brian Enton confirmed it outside, and I have confirmed it inside. There was blood inside the home. There was blood outside the home. So let me get to some of Brian Enton's amazing reporting as well before I give you a little bit more of what my law enforcement source has told me, especially
Did Banfield leave wherever she was at?
about the prime suspect and the car that was towed. That's very, very distressing. Brian
Nice house.
Brian also learned about forced entry into the house, and he learned of the 2 alleged ransom notes. We're going to talk at length about that. One went to TMZ, one went to a local TV station
Okay, so there are ransom notes.
in Tucson. We have thoughts. Lots of people have thoughts.
little
The
mis-
sheriff has some thoughts, apparently.
But I was
But I'll talk to Brian about that in a moment.
just thinking the same thing. Like, what sick bastard would do this? Kidnapping an old woman? Like an elderly woman? That's like that's so low. And using her for ransom?
Moment, and I will read for you what those are. I'm also going to tell you this, that the sheriff was concerned enough that he put out a statement with a QR code. Okay.
We are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding investigator Anthony Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads.
Let me read this. Sheriff said, we are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes, plural. It's ransom note, parentheses S, so a note or notes, regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our direct.
Obviously, if they smashed the Nest cams, they knew the Nest cams were there.
Our detectives
It's somebody that knows her.
who are coordinating
Not just a random. You don't just kidnap a random elderly lady.
with the FBI. We encourage anyone who may have information, any information or tips to share via this QR code. So he answered the question too during the press conference when he was asked about, were there ransom notes? Has anybody reached out to Savannah Guthrie or her family? Who takes an 84-year-old woman? What's the point? It would seem like they'd want something. And he didn't say no. He just said the same thing that you just heard. We're looking at all leads. So they may have looked at the TMZ lead right before that press conference and they weren't ready to say whether they thought it was legit or just some hoaxer. And maybe the Tucson TV station got one as well. I was a scam artist born every day. So, by the way, very illegal, very traceable. We'll get to that. Okay. Savannah put out a post today, and the Today Show, obviously this is their colleague. I'm a colleague of Savannah's. I worked with Savannah for years. We've been friends for years. We've done charity events together. She's dear. She's very dear to me, and it's breaking my heart that she is down there where she grew up in Tucson, trying to find her mom.
But usually when elderly people get robbed, that's what happens. They get robbed, assaulted, possibly killed or left for dead, not kidnapped.
And she gave the Today Show a statement about where they stand at this point. This is how the Today Show aired it.
Chanel is in for Savannah once again, who remains with her family in Arizona.
Good morning, and that is where we begin this morning. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, and a beloved part of our Today family. Authorities in Arizona now saying the 84-year-old appears to be the victim of an abduction.
Overnight, Savannah posting this image on Instagram. Please pray. She went on to write, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in Him."
She added, "Thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment." She goes on to say, "We need you. Bring her home."
And obviously, Savannah's not on the Today Show. She wasn't on yesterday either. And she will not be going to Italy to do the Winter Olympics. This is huge for Savannah. This is every 4 years. It is one of the biggest assignments. The amount of prep that it takes to do the Olympics, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of work. And she is not going. And someone is going to have to take her place and get up to speed and cover for her. But how heartbreaking that is that she's not going to be able to do that. And she will not be at the Winter Olympics at all for that coverage. Helicopters showed up above Brian Enton while he was doing a live report today, above Nancy Guthrie's house. And it was the sheriff's helicopter. And there was a guy hanging out of it. And it was low. It was low enough to see him hanging out of it and looking around. And that wasn't the only emergency vehicle either. I'm going to tell you about that when I talk to Brian. It was another vehicle that was law enforcement related. And it does speak volumes to what might have happened that sent those two vehicles out, the helicopter and the pickup truck. I'll tell you that in a moment. First, let me tell you some devastating stuff. So my law enforcement source tells me that the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open. Was it the point of entry? Was it the point of egress? Don't know that. But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front. Brian Enton saw blood at the front door. So did a struggle happen at the front door? Was there a doorbell rung at 2 a.m.? Why was the back door open? A lot of questions there. But the back door, according to my law enforcement source, was left wide open. I told you already, 100% blood inside the house. My law enforcement source told me that police have now towed and impounded the vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie Guthrie. This is important because you've heard that the last point of contact with Nancy Guthrie was when she was dropped off by her daughter at 9:45-ish at night on Saturday night. So Annie Guthrie, and possibly her husband as well, Tommaso Cioni, were the last people to see her at 9:45 at night, Saturday night. Sunday morning, 11 a.m., church members reached out to the family. Hey, your mom wasn't in church. Not normal. She's always there. What's up? Family member goes over, calls, family member or members, goes to the house, calls 911, and the investigation begins. But they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. And there is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, age 50, from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister. And my law enforcement source tells me that Tommaso Cioni is the prime suspect in this case. Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case. At the very least, let me tamp that down, because sometimes it's the first person you're looking at, not prime as in there's no one else. Okay, so let's be really mindful of that. Families are always looked at first as well. It doesn't mean right away. Listen, Ed Smart was targeted for weeks as, without question, somebody they needed to look at. Possible suspect, right? Heartbreaking for Ed and Lois Smart because it wasn't them who took Elizabeth, right? But that's what happens when anything happens like this.
But their car, I mean, they towed their car, meaning they had to get a warrant unless it was hey, can we tow your, can we impound your car? No, I'm sure they got a warrant to do it, which means that they have to have probable cause, which means that they have to have some sort of evidence.
Familial abductions, the families looked at first, and Annie and or Thomas Osioni were the last people to see Nancy Guthrie at 9:45 at night, the night before she disappeared, abducted, kidnapped. Kidnapped was the word that the sheriff used with me. But it's very distressing to think that this law enforcement source is telling me that Thomas Osioni is maybe a prime suspect in this case at this point, and that the car,
Dude, he doesn't look like he had a car
belonging to Annie has been towed and impounded and is in evidence. That's the word that was used with me. This law enforcement source also said to me, who has the motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is, that's a burden, right? It's a burden.
Absolutely. For everybody involved. I mean, it's a crazy idea.
To kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden. And then this law enforcement source said, so you look at people who would have a benefit to an 84-year-old woman going away, disappearing or dying. Sometimes it's somebody who has an insurance benefit from that. Sometimes it's somebody who may benefit because there's a debt. And that may be helpful. These are just musings. They are not evidence, okay? But they are musings from people I trust implicitly due to their longevity in the business of investigating this exact kind of thing.
Well, they would have to get
I told you already about the pacemaker information.
They would have to get a warrant to impound it.
And the law enforcement sources have narrowed it down to the kidnapping happening at 2 a.m. based on the pacemaker stopping at 2 a.m. That's when they believe Nancy was taken from that house. All forms of DNA were submitted, right? But the sheriff himself said that it came back. Like, so far, the details that have come back have not pointed to a suspect, which tells them that it was likely Nancy's blood, not a suspect. Or at least nothing has come back yet to point to a suspect regarding the blood. My law enforcement source said that they will be searching every single cell phone ping, the geofencing, all the rest. This source told me that this is someone who knew where the cameras were, somebody who was familiar with this home, this premises, this woman. They knew where the cameras were in order to smash those Nest cameras, plural. Okay.
Maybe, I don't know if her purse or wallet or whatever was still in the house, and maybe he wanted her to empty out her bank account. I don't know. Obviously, whoever's idea this is, it's not a great idea by any stretch of the imagination. It's a stupid idea. It's a horrible idea. It's a sinister, disgusting, dumbass thing to do. So whoever's doing this isn't working with a full deck anyway.
And as far as the TMZ ransom note, my source says that they don't believe that this is real. They think it's just troublemakers trying to insert themselves into this story. Could that change? Yes. I just want to give you a little bit of information on Thomas Osioni, Annie Guthrie's husband, whom at this point I am told again may be a prime suspect in this case. He's 50, from Tucson. His bio from a website that's an Italian website, an official Italian website for the Taparulan Society, Cultural Association, the Taparulan Cultural Association, a nonprofit focused on promoting contemporary artists. His bio says, I was born in San Giovanni, Valderno on June 18th, 1975. Since 2006, I have lived in Tucson, Arizona. I write when I have the chance. I study lizards. I play the electric bass. I make homemade pasta.
I study lizards and I make homemade pasta. I'm guilty.
LinkedIn reports that Tommaso Cioni is a teacher at Basis Oro Valley School from 2007 until present. Says he's a primary instructor for 6th grade science and AP biology. Reverb Nation, that's a music website, says that he put out an album with a 3-man music group called Early Black. Music is apparently available, but that's all I know about Annie Guthrie's husband, who, again, one law enforcement source, very connected, highly regarded, impeccable credentials, knowledge of this investigation, says that Tommaso Cioni, Annie P. Guthrie's husband, may be the prime suspect in this case, and Annie's vehicle has been towed, impounded, and is now in evidence. Very distressing.
Okay,
so Brian Enton is with me from News Nation. He's been doing some incredible work since landing on the ground in Tucson. Brian, you have done, again, some outstanding reporting out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. When the crime scene was turned over to the family, you found a blood trail.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of surprised, Ashley, that it was not a crime scene anymore. I don't know why. I just expected that they would still have some tape outside. Or, when you cover these things, they'll have like one police car that stays behind. Everybody left. I mean, it was just empty, except there were some, what I thought were family members coming and going today. I don't know who they were.
Why would it not be a crime scene still if the crime is still ongoing? She was obviously taken from there. Why have they released that already? Why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would they release that crime scene? It's only been 72 hours. I mean, nobody should be walking in and out of that house. Nobody except investigators. What the hell is that?
So we decided, let's just go knock on the door and see if anybody is home, just to kind of see what's going on, since it's not a crime scene. It's all opened back up. And so
it is a crime scene.
Walking up to the front door, you could see that there was blood right outside the front door on the ground, like on the stoop right there, right near the front mat going in. Just, not a ton of blood, but it was definitely blood. It was all right there. And then when you looked up, you could see where the camera was, right by, almost like where it looked like a doorbell, but it was a camera, and the camera was gone.
Well, and my information from my source is that those cameras were smashed, not just the front one. There was a second one. Whoever did this knew there were two, smashed them. So presumably the fact that you saw that they're gone means that the police took them for evidence.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, though, is when I asked the sheriff, I was at the press conference, and I asked the sheriff, we noticed that the camera is gone in the front. Do you think the perpetrator took the camera? He said, we noticed that too, and all of that is under investigation. So it was kind of strange. He didn't give me an answer. Was it the perpetrator who took the camera? Was it the police who took the camera? But he acknowledged that they also noticed that the camera was gone.
I think he's having to answer in real time to, investigative information and evidence that he doesn't want out there, probably. And having to, tap dance in front of live cameras, which is really hard. I mean, this is a small place. Tucson has barely had, massive crime. I think one of the biggest things was Gabby Giffords, 15, 20 years ago. So this is a lot. This is a big crime for them to process, and the media attention is sort of stifling. It's really, really hard. Let's just talk a little bit about that blood trail a little bit before we go more into the cameras. But you find the blood trail at the front door. The front door is closed. At least it is now. My law enforcement source has told me the back door was wide open, which sort of gives you just so many questions. Is that where the perpetrator came in? Is that where the perpetrator went out with Mrs. Guthrie? Did Mrs. Guthrie answer the front door at 2 a.m. and there was a pitched fight and that's why the blood is there? Because I think you mentioned the blood doesn't go further out along the stones to the driveway.
Yeah, that's right. We looked and it was just in that area near the door. It's not like there were droplets that went out to where the driveway is or even in the driveway.
Yeah, when my mom was killed, my family, my grandpa specifically, they had to clean up the blood and get rid of the furniture, and
Which made me think, I mean, did they take Miss Guthrie out the front? And like you said, the back door being open, maybe they came in the back and took her out the front and into a
yeah, I mean, they could swab that. You know, they don't need much.
car. And maybe that's why the blood just stopped right there. We just don't know.
I will tell you this in my half-hour-long conversation with the sheriff last night. I said, so you think that perhaps when you say Mrs. Guthrie was taken out of that home, she did not walk out of that home, are you telling me she was carried over the threshold of the front door? And he said, I did not say the front door. So that was a clue to me. Wait, okay, not the front door. And then I learned today.
No, she's going to walk out on her own at 2 a.m. Of course she. I mean, come on.
That the back door is open. So I am very curious. There were some erroneous reports about Mrs. Guthrie was dragged from her bed. The sheriff actually put out a statement saying that is not what I said. So at this point, the sheriff was walking back anybody who reported she was dragged from her bed. We don't know if the bedroom was, the epicenter of this crime yet. We don't know if there's ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and Mrs. Guthrie comes down at 2 a.m. What's going on? And something happens at the front. But why then would the back door be wide open? It's very, very confounding. Why would the blood be in the front, but the back door's open? Or did they, like you said, come in the...
Well, whoever did this, and when they catch them, and they will catch them, they're going to prison for the rest of their life. Whether she's dead or alive.
Back door, go up to the bedroom, but then take her out the front.
Yeah, and I'm just looking behind me because there's more cars in the driveway now. Step out of the way. You see that white Volvo, and then there's a truck. I think they've maybe brought security people in to just kind of keep an eye on the house. But one thing that you don't know until you're here, I didn't realize, is this isn't like a normal neighborhood, actually. It's right in the foothills. Every house, I would say, is on at least an acre, maybe 2, 3, or 4 acres. They're almost like little ranches. And it's pitch, we've got our lights on for, because we're doing our camera work, but it's pitch black out here. There is not one light out here. And it's a ways to the next house. So I'm just thinking if they came in through the back door, to take her out the back door, though, it's not like there'd be a little alley back there. I mean, there's like cactus. This is not, it's like kind of wild land out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But whoever smashed the cameras maybe thought it would be an easier way to get in the back door to smash a camera without being seen, go in the back and then maybe smash the front camera from the inside of the house coming out. Who knows? I mean, but whoever it was, my law enforcement source said they knew there were those cameras and where they were in order to smash them. We're getting to that in a bit, but helicopters overhead while you were doing your live shot earlier today. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, they were going to.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was a sheriff helicopter that got very, very low over the house with 2 men looking out and down. And my first thought was like, sometimes they'll just kind of come by to come look real quick and then they'll leave. But they stayed for over an hour over the house and then across the street. And then in like kind of, again, it's almost like fields out here, but with a lot of cactuses in the vicinity of the house, very low, looking around. And then we saw a search and rescue truck out here, which we hadn't seen all day. So I don't know if there was kind of like, hey, we left some stone unturned and we just want to go back out and look one more time, or if there was a specific tip that came in, something specific that they were looking for. But it was very clear that they were looking for something. Because again, at first I thought like, the helicopter's doing a pass. The sheriff's office just wants to show that they're keeping an eye on the area. But no, they were searching for something.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer Coffendorfer mentioned they might have gotten called a tip, and they were out trying to find whatever it was they thought might be within the vicinity of the house. Or maybe they thought whoever took her couldn't manage for too long. And maybe there was something in the wilds. Like you said, it's pretty rural out there. The other thing that's upsetting, and I don't want to think this, is that, you know, if you're going to leave a body somewhere, there are so many wild animals in that area at night. It's very, very hard to keep the integrity of a potential body, if there is one, you know, intact for a long time with all the wildlife. And let's hope that that's not the situation. The ransom notes, let's talk a little bit about that. One to TMZ that was detailed about what she was wearing, details inside the house, and then asking for Bitcoin. And another one to a local TV station. Let me see which one it is. I think it's KOLD TV in Tucson. KOLD, yeah. They, you know, my law enforcement source says he's not putting a lot of stock in that. There's a lot of crazies out there that want to insert themselves. But what are you hearing from where you are?
Yeah, so you mentioned with the TMZ note, we learned that in the note there were some specifics about what Nancy was wearing and then specifics about the inside of the house, but we don't know if those are true. I mean, like that was just coming from TMZ. We don't know if it actually, you know, is going to check out with what she was actually wearing.
Yeah, like TMZ got it. Like TMZ got that.
And it was an email, by the way.
In an email, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it just some, you know, lunatic who's going to be traced to charged? You know, that, and also the sheriff said that they don't know what she was wearing. So how could you know, anyway, that's part of the idea here is that emails can be traced.
Yeah, they can be traced.
What do you mean? If it was the person that kidnapped her, then they would know what she's wearing, Ashley. I mean, do I got to do this for her?
I don't know.
Here is that they don't know what she was wearing. So how could you know, anyway?
Did the kidnappers know what she's wearing? Well, because they're the ones that kidnapped her.
That's part of the idea here is that emails can be traced.
Yeah, they can be traced. I don't know. I think the whole thing is a little weird. Like, why would the kidnapper reach out to TMZ? And then I noticed that TMZ, Harvey Levin was saying they were having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff initially, which I just found to be kind of strange if the sheriff was taking it that seriously. But the sheriff's office did put out a statement later acknowledging these and saying that they were investigating. Yeah, there it is. And when I was at the press conference earlier, we asked, have there been any ransom notes? And I thought it was interesting. Again, the sheriff didn't answer the question. He just said, we're looking into every. And yesterday he was much more open, Ashley. I mean, you had him on your podcast. He was all over the place. He was answering every question. He was kind of like hard to follow it sometimes. I'm like, he was talking about his gut feeling about things. And I'm like, is it really what he's saying actually factors? Anyway, but today he was much, much more careful.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said before, they're a little bit new at this. I mean, they don't get this kind of stuff going on in this rural area in Pima County. But, you know, upsetting just to think that somebody, if it's true, may be trying to insert themselves. Let's get to some of the other breaking stuff that my source told me that's just kind of blood curdling, that they did indeed find blood inside the house. You found the blood outside the house. The confirmation from my law enforcement sources that there was blood inside the house as well. And that they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. Annie Guthrie being Savannah Guthrie's sister and the last person to have dropped Mrs. Guthrie off at 9:45 the night before, but that they have towed and impounded her car into evidence. That is sort of the ground shook when I learned that.
That's interesting because we had heard that the FBI was at the sister's house, the Savannah sister's house, earlier tonight. I hadn't heard the towing of the car, and I just kind of assumed like they were over there talking to them, trying to get more information about, you know, what was going on in Nancy's life in the days up to this. But yeah, the towing of the car, I'm trying to sort of wrap my mind around the reasons that they may have done that.
I mean, I guess I can understand. I'm trying to think of all the reasons why it's not a big deal. And
right.
It's the last person to have seen Nancy Guthrie. My law enforcement source says, who takes an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility? It's a burden for the kidnapper to do so unless someone has a vested interest in gaining something from it, like insurance benefits or a family debt that needs paid off, anything like that. This was just the musings, not the evidence of this investigator. But the other sort of earth-shattering information that this source told me is that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, Annie's husband, Thomas Ocioni, is now may be considered prime suspect in this case.
Wow. Yeah. So I haven't heard the most, like I said, the most I heard was that the FBI was at their house earlier today. I haven't heard that at all. I don't know much about them. I mean, I think they were the last ones with her, right? On Friday night.
Two
so,
reports
I mean,
that Annie dropped her off or that Annie and Tomaso dropped her off. It's a little unclear, but this law enforcement source specifically pointed to her car being towed, impounded, and in evidence, and the son-in-law, Tomaso Sione, age 50, may be the prime suspect in the case.
Well, and it would make sense even if they hopefully did absolutely nothing wrong and this is their mom and it's like makes your heart hurt. I mean, I feel terrible for everyone in the family, but it would make sense that they don't want
Look, if they're the ones that dropped her off, they're the last person to see her, they're going to get looked at. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, whether you like it or not.
to leave any stone unturned. So even if investigators are thinking like, we don't think these people had anything to do with it, but the fact that they were the last ones with her, she was in that car the night before, you know, like maybe they're just going to check everything regardless.
And that, my source said there's a lot of familiarity. This kidnapper had a lot of familiarity with this home, with the 2 different Nest cams that were smashed. And, that they said an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility is not an easy person to kidnap. There has to be a benefit in some way. You think about a break-in. No, you've caught me breaking into your house. Now you've seen me. Well, you don't typically kill someone and take the body or take the live person with you. That's not usually how a burglary that's foiled ends. It's far more complicated and odd. The mystery is more. It just takes you in a different direction. Your thoughts, anyway. The other thing is that my source said they are obviously looking at all cell phone pings and geofencing to find out what was in that neighborhood. This is the kind of thing that, trips up just about anybody. It may have tripped up Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders. He left his phone in the hospital, but the car was seen. Brian Koberger shuts his phone off right as he's leaving and puts his phone back on right as he's returning home, right around the times of the murders. These are things that some people just don't think about.
Stargazer.
Yeah, and it's not just phones. I was talking to a FBI agent who just retired actually from this area earlier, and he was reminding me that it's iPads, it's like all sorts, it's iWatch, it's all sorts of electronics now. Yeah, that can track you. And he was emphasizing to me that is the number one thing that the FBI is doing right now, and that they can literally like narrow it down in such a way through the cell phone towers to who was right in this area and then try to follow that device. And he.
Great, Brian. Let's just tell them all the secrets. There's blood on the ground. And here's what the FBI is going to do.
Thinks that's real.
Stupid ass.
Really what's going on behind the scenes right now.
Well, hopefully nobody's listening or you're going to end up with some cell phones in the river.
And there's also just like questions about, do they have a suspect that we just don't know about? I mean, I was thinking back to Brian Koberger earlier when you and I were talking every night and it was like, gosh, these police, they don't seem like they know anything. And then come to find out they knew a lot. Do they just have their poker face on in these press conferences and they actually know a lot?
And it's true. They do. I mean, that has to be, we have to be kept in the dark about things because they've got to keep the suspect in the dark about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. Except when he's a dork.
Super interesting, though, just about the fact that family members are always number one. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Ed Smart. Ed Smart was like one of the number one, suspects in the disappearance of his daughter, Elizabeth. Because does the boogeyman really come into your house and steal your daughter out of her bed beside her little sister? I doubt it. Well, he did. The boogeyman did come in. Brian David Mitchell did come in and steal Elizabeth, and it wasn't Ed Smart. But the way law enforcement works is you have to start from the inside of the concentric circles and then work out to any potential other suspects. So if this ends up being prime suspect, but not the only one, and we're just eliminating him, that could definitely be the case. But I also feel like, would you tow and impound the car of Savannah Guthrie's sister, of Nancy Guthrie's daughter, and if there weren't something bigger to it? I mean, it's very loud. It's a very big move.
Do you think it's strange?
Yes.
And you're more, I mean, you've been in the bigger media world more than I have. Like, do you think it's strange that Savannah Guthrie hasn't said anything? I mean, could that be an indication of
Well,
maybe some drama in the family behind the scenes?
so many things could be happening there. If I were in Savannah's shoes, I would be mute. I would be, catatonic. You're a big media person. This massive thing is swirling around you. You don't even know what to say and what not to say. You have a million friends in the media business. Everybody wants a comment from you. And the police may have just said, we'd like.
Like if you were to go, if you were to say to me, do you know who Savannah Guthrie is? I would say no. And then you'd show me a picture of her and I go, yeah, of course. And she's pretty well known.
Like you not to say anything. And
Yeah.
I know Savannah. Savannah is a lawyer. She is a long studied crime reporter. I met her at Court TV. We worked together at Court TV. She is brilliant. And so Savannah will be doing the smartest things to aid in this investigation. She will do everything that the police are asking her to do, and she will not go rogue. I know that.
Yeah.
No.
And I don't know, the other aspect of that is that the FBI was over at Annie's house. They've towed her car. They're looking at her husband. If I were Savannah, yeah, that would be enough for me to just say, I need to just stay out of the limelight. I need to stay out of everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering about that because if there is a family dynamic.
Yeah, does that answer your question, Brian? Yeah, sorry. I was just wondering, it's whatever.
Dynamic here might be reason for her to, like you said, just sort of stay quiet. Although I hate to even think that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I know you have your source, but it's like, gosh, that's just terrible.
I was interviewing Ed Smart and Lois and having to ask them about that. It was awful and so awkward and so uncomfortable.
I think about that.
Like, if I were Savannah, yeah, that would be enough for me to just say, I need to just stay out of the limelight. I need to stay out of everything.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering about that because if there is
Ashley, you don't have to talk to me that way.
a family dynamic here, might be reason for her to, like you said, just sort of stay quiet. Although I hate to even think that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I know you have your source, but it's like, gosh, that's just terrible.
I was interviewing Ed Smart and Lois and having to ask them about that. It was awful and so awkward and so uncomfortable. But I do understand it's how law enforcement has to work. They can't ignore that. Or
I was interviewing a guy that years ago, and he was never officially a suspect, and the crime was actually solved, but people sort of implicated him. And I remember asking him if he was the one that killed the kids, if he killed the children, or had any part in it. And that was an uncomfortable question. It's not that I expected him to say no, but you have to ask the question. Was it Josh? Did you see Rodney chat? No. You sent it on X? Send it on X? Oh, look. President Trump commented on the disappearance of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, calling it unusual. Thanks. Thanks for weighing in.
they wouldn't be doing their jobs. What about the neighbors? Have you heard from anybody?
I haven't got anything on X.
Out there?
Yeah, we've talked to several neighbors. People loved Nancy. We're hearing a lot of that. I mean, she lived here since the early '90s. I think 1992 is when she moved in, which a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Savannah probably bought her the house. It's a really nice house." I mean, apparently not, because she's lived here for a long time. So a lot of people know her. And people are on edge about the whole thing. The police have been to all of the neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me police had been there twice looking for videos. So it seems like, we've done other stories where you show up and you're like kind of surprised, gosh, how are we the first ones here? That doesn't seem like the case here. People have been going to all the different neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me that they were even trying to talk to the landscapers, because there's a lot, I mean, they're really nice houses out here, and there's a lot of like landscape crews and stuff. So they were talking to them because they kind of know the area. So yeah, people have been cooperating with the police for sure.
Well, I remember a case, Nancy Woodrum in Paso Robles, California, well over a decade ago. Elderly woman disappeared from her home. It was this sort of freaked me out a little because it seemed so similar, but it ended up being a painter that worked at the house. So they will be canvassing. And I think the sheriff did say that to me. They're canvassing every single person, from caretakers to landscapers to pool, service contractors, etc. Anybody who had any kind of connection at that house, that would be absolutely number one. They would do that right away and get alibis and check for DNA. The other interesting thing is, Brian, that the sheriff today said that they have tested some of the DNA that was discovered at the house, but that nothing that's come back so far has indicated a suspect.
Right. They confirmed that the DNA connected back to Nancy, which I guess is no real surprise. She lived in the house, but they wouldn't say what. Was that blood that was tested? Was that the blood outside that was tested? I do too. I do too, but they didn't confirm it.
I mean, you're seeing blood outside that's it's still red. I could see your video still red. You're testing that. You're testing that right away, because what if there was a pitched fight and a knife was being used and, the assailant was cut? There'd be mixed blood. So that would be the first thing but it was devastating to hear that so far nothing's come back, indicating a suspect. This is going to be a hard one. This will be a really, really hard one. Like you said, it's so dark out there and so rural, and it's not like a lot of Ring cameras and license plate readers are going to lead to whatever vehicle, and I do say vehicle. Nancy Guthrie couldn't move more than 50 yards on her own. Oh my God. She needed to be conveyed in some kind of a vehicle.
What does it say? I haven't seen
it. I wonder if they already have a vehicle description. Because, with the FBI being involved so early, and there are traffic cameras out, like on the main road out here, and they're just not giving it to us at this point for a specific reason.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they're going to look at every single vehicle that was in that area and find out who they were, where they were, who they were with. That's not tricky. That's what led us to Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders, Yeah. What am I missing?
I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, we hit the ransom. The blood is really alarming. The cameras, which you had new information on. I don't know if you caught the press conference, Ashley.
I did.
It was a little strange. I mean, there was not a lot of new information. The FBI was there for the first time. They had the special agent in charge of Tucson who was there along with the sheriff. The FBI was not there yesterday. I thought it was interesting. The sheriff started by saying, well, I said some things maybe I shouldn't have said yesterday. And, I had to do all these interviews. It was just kind of strange. I thought, like you said, I guess they don't deal with that a lot here. And then I thought it was interesting that he said, next press conference will be Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah.
No updates unless needed.
Correct. And I was just like, okay, kind of like nothing to see here, everybody. It's just a little odd, I thought.
You know what? I thought it was strange when he said no updates until Thursday until something happens. And then when I got my information from my law enforcement source, I thought, oh, yeah, maybe it's because you do have your prime suspect. And that's why you're saying we don't need to do any updates right now. I don't know. Again, it's a great, impeccable source that I have, extraordinarily connected to this. So, and somebody who's very high in law enforcement too. So, I don't have any reason not to believe that. I do want to mention that there was dispatch chatter.
Is that possible, Rod?
Which was super interesting. Dispatch audio that was like dispatch talking to responding unit.
Well, it's not. The reason it's not a crime scene anymore would be because it's They got to be tracking somebody, right?
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, powder blue. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Saying that there was high blood pressure medication, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues. So they seemed to know right away, even as before they got there, that there was some medical issue with this missing person. Maybe that came from the family. Yeah, really.
Well, and
interesting,
you've heard right about the pacemaker connecting to the iWatch, and she was charging her iWatch in the room, and they were able to review the data in the iWatch, and the last time the pacemaker connected to the iWatch was at 2 a.m. So that's sort of how they've been able to. I just want to look again and see what.
I mean, they're obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting. This must be security out here.
And taking pictures just to say what things look like.
Yeah, it's sort of how they've been able to.
What the hell did you just do?
We'll look again and see what. Yeah, it's interesting. This must be security out here.
And taking pictures just to say what things look like out there. My source said to me that the separation from the pacemaker at 2 a.m. is the time of abduction. That's what the police believe. They refused to narrow the window for us in the press conference today, but my law enforcement source said, yes, it's 2 a.m. That's when they believe she was abducted / kidnapped. The sheriff said kidnapped to me. I don't think there's a big difference. And that they believe that it absolutely happened at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, which would make sense. And again, just as dark as it is out here, I'll just show you. Like if I pick up my camera, my phone, or my, we have all our lights, but look like down the street, Ashley, it's like, you can see what it's like out here. It's like
minus 2.
Totally.
Can you
pitch black? So
can you just say what it said? Actually, hold on. Let me do this, brother. So if you have the link, you can put it in the chat now. But either way, I'm just curious.
Only thing you can see are the vehicles. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Makes it real hard for an investigation, Brian. My God. Well, listen, you were unbelievable today in what you were able to I think the blood trail.
I mean, I don't know if he's unbelievable. He walked up to the front door and he's all blood on the ground.
Is some of the biggest news that's come out of this, as well as the notion that that Annie and Tomaso's vehicle has been impounded, is in evidence, and that they may be considering him a prime suspect. It's just,
damn, Brian, cracking the case.
It's very disturbing.
Hey, look, there's blood on the ground. It's been swabbed.
It's very distressing.
Good job.
But listen, thank you, because I know you're so busy. Every single show on News Nation you've been on, and updating them all, and just getting your crew out there, fantastic. Dave and Mo, congratulate them for the work they're doing as well. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate this.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, Ashley. I'll see you.
You
see
too.
You probably tomorrow. All right.
Hey.
How cute. God, I cannot believe that. That poor lady.
Reports of what evidence they had taken from Nancy Guthrie's home.
What I'd tell you is, like any crime scene, we processed this crime scene. We gathered all the evidence we could, to include looking for what? Fingerprints.
I can already tell this. Is this the guy? This is the sheriff? I love him already.
It's DNA, camera images, everything you can imagine. And we gathered that out.
Anybody that gets their haircut the same length on the top of their head as the front and the back and the sides, like if it's they're a very intelligent person, I think. I don't know why, just
Those things have been submitted forward to labs, to technological companies to help us, and we're like you. We're waiting
just give me a 3 all the way around.
for those returns to come back.
The FBI also spoke at this news conference, and there was a minor part in their prepared statement that we picked up.
And I don't know what the hell's going on with that. I mean, just give it up.
On.
In terms of what the FBI is doing, we are providing the following support. Primarily, it's analytical and technical support in the following ways. We're downloading and analyzing cell phones, obtaining cell tower information, conducting interviews, and providing any and all investigative support that the Sheriff's Department needs. We're looking at this from every angle, but we need your help.
Now, the minor part that we picked up on is that the FBI said they are analyzing cell phones, plural. It's unclear whose cell phones they're looking at. We do know that authorities have said they found Nancy Guthrie's phone at her house. Now, we do have information on some new evidence, reportedly, that law enforcement was able to take from the scene, and this evidence could be very critical in cracking this case. And we also have a new report that is shedding light on what authorities may have also found inside of Guthrie's home, and that includes blood. Now, before we get to that new information, I want to break down an updated timeline of what law enforcement believed happened. So, Nancy Guthrie, she lives alone inside this home in Tucson, Arizona. It's really on the outskirts of Tucson, north of the city. This picture from the AP was shot at the foot of the driveway. You can see it's kind of a longer driveway, and law enforcement, they have been parked outside ever since this story broke. Now, this is an aerial picture of that home. This is per 12 News in Arizona, just to give you an idea of what the property looks like.
Thank you, Rod. It just came through 6 times. Okay. Yeah, I'll just read this. It's from the Tribune. FBI visits home of Savannah Guthrie's sister. So now they're searching the home, it looks like. FBI agents have visited the Arizona home of Savannah Guthrie's sister as the search continues for the Today presenter's missing mother. Law enforcement officials, including FBI agents and local sheriffs, were seen arriving and later leaving the Tucson property after around 2 hours. Officials did not comment as they departed, and Savannah Guthrie was also believed to be present inside the home at this time. Damn.
Like. So deputies say that family members dropped Nancy Guthrie off at her home around 9:45 on Saturday night. Guthrie is a devout churchgoer.
So the FBI was there for about 2 hours, and Savannah was at the home as well. I wonder what kind of conversations those were. Exactly, to be a fly on the wall. Holy crap, man.
It is a key part of her routine. And when she didn't show up for church Sunday morning, people knew that something was wrong. And it was around noon on Sunday that law enforcement received the first 911 call.
I wonder if they walked out with any bags of evidence
from Nancy's family. So deputies say when they searched her house, they realized that this was not a case of an elderly person wandering off or someone who may have gotten lost.
No.
In fact, they say that Nancy Guthrie is incredibly sharp mentally. And they have made it clear, law enforcement, that they believe that Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at.
So overnight, the sheriff expanded more on that. Sheriff Chris Nanos telling CBS News, quote, "I believe she was abducted. Yes. She didn't walk from there. She didn't go willingly. Before we continue on, I also want to keep putting this up on the screen. This is the number that you can call if you're watching this and you have information about what may have happened to Nancy Guthrie. It's the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And the number that you can call with a tip, 520-351-4900. The sheriff is now calling on the public for help. He's calling on neighbors to review surveillance footage that they may have just to see if there is anything that could help them track down Nancy Guthrie and who may have taken her from her home. Now, getting surveillance video may be easier said than done. I want you to look at this map here because this shows the layout of the neighborhood. And you can see there's a good amount of distance and brush between the homes, and several of the homes have long driveways. It's kind of secluded off of the road. So it's not a case where it might be a townhouse or a building in a city where you're able to grab something from a surveillance camera, a Ring doorbell camera of someone passing by. Obviously, it would be huge if someone has that type of information, but the sheriff has said that that could be challenging. He also talked about looking at license plate readers in hopes that that could help crack this case. Now, we do know from local media reports that Guthrie's home is not in a gated community, but again, this is a rural area. Fox News is reporting that Nancy Guthrie has a pacemaker that last synced to her Apple devices around 2 a.m. on Sunday. Her Apple Watch was found at the home, according to Fox News. It was still on the charger. And remember, authorities have said that they have her mobile phone. The local sheriff's office has not confirmed that detail involving the pacemaker. There's also a new critical development in this story. The sheriff says that they have possibly recovered DNA from the home of Nancy Guthrie. And the sheriff has said that they are hoping it's enough that could give them some sort of identification. That DNA has been sent to a lab in Phoenix, where it could take 2 days to be analyzed. That's according to KVOA TV. There's also a report from the LA Times that we need to talk about. They are citing anonymous sources who say that blood was found inside of Nancy Guthrie's home. There were also reportedly signs of forced entry into their house. The Pima County Sheriff tells us that the DNA is that of Nancy Guthrie, but the sheriff wouldn't confirm that the DNA sample is blood. Fox News is also reporting that a source said that a light trail of blood was seen outside the home. They were describing it as a drip, one that might come from a bloody nose. Either way, that's certainly a scary development, as well as the fact that authorities say that this is truly a race against time, not just to find a woman who was allegedly taken from her home, but because Nancy Guthrie at 84 has very important medication that she needs to take to be able to survive.
This is a 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal. So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen something, heard something.
It's just so sad.
To contact us. Call 911.
It's like,
we don't need another bad tragic ending. We need some help.
You know, it's a tough thing to point out, but we're obviously well beyond the 24 hours that Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home. We are entering the third day at the time of this recording in the search for her. As of Monday night, the sheriff told NBC that they don't have a solid lead yet into what happened to Guthrie or where she may be. And a key part of this story is that Nancy Guthrie, she was sharp mentally. Again, this is not a case of someone who is elderly, who may have struggled with some sort of mental issue and they wandered off from their home or got lost. According to the sheriff, the issue is that physically she has some limitations and said that she wouldn't be able to walk 50 yards by herself, which is another piece of the story that they say points to the fact that she was allegedly taken from her home. Now, it's unclear at this point who had access to Nancy Guthrie's home. We know that she lived by herself, but it's unclear if she had people who would come to her home to help her, perhaps people who did lawn work. Now, the fact that there were signs of forced entry may mean that the person responsible may not be someone who is regularly at her home. Now, Guthrie is the mom of one of the most recognizable people in TV news, Savannah Guthrie. And we are hearing from Savannah for the first time since this story broke, because she posted this on Instagram to her 1.2 million followers. And it is a graphic that she posted that says, "Please pray." And in the caption, she writes, quote, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him. Thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment. We need you. He will keep in perfect peace those whose hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord." A verse of Isaiah for all time, for all of us. Bring her home. Now, Savannah Guthrie, she's been the co-anchor of the Today Show since 2012. She grew up in Tucson, Arizona. She also went to college at the University of Arizona, which is in Tucson. Savannah has two siblings, a brother and a sister. Her dad died when she was a teenager of a heart attack. And she is incredibly close to her mom. She's spoken publicly about their bond. If you watch the Today Show, you might already know who Nancy Guthrie is even before this story, because she had come on the Today Show multiple times. Savannah posted this picture with her mom just after Christmas this year on Facebook. Then this is from 2020. This was her mom's 78th birthday. She posted on Instagram, quote, "Happy birthday to a mother like no other. My mom, Nancy, is my heart and my everything and my model for what a mother should be. Thank you, God, for her 78 beautiful years. Happy birthday, Mama." Now, Nancy Guthrie has made multiple appearances on the Today Show over the years. And in her most recent appearance on the show, she talked about moving to Tucson in the 1970s. She said that she decided to stay in the area to raise her family in Tucson because it has a laid back and gentle quality of life. The Pima County Sheriff's Office says that the FBI and Border Patrol are also helping in the search for Nancy. They say that they have Nancy's cell phone. That could be really important. And they say they're analyzing that cell phone right now for clues. Tucson is located about an hour 15 minutes north of the Mexico border. The sheriff, during his news conference, was asked about a possible motive in this case. And we don't know what that motive is. Again, at this point, we don't know who took Nancy Guthrie from her home. It doesn't appear to be a robbery based on everything that we've heard. And we also haven't heard anything about a ransom or a demand. The sheriff was asked about whether it could be tied to maybe a potential threat related to Savannah Guthrie. I mean, she is this very recognizable news personality. This is what the sheriff said.
Has Savannah Guthrie, has she had any threats to herself?
We've spoken to her. We'll continue to work with that. She has a security team that's been in touch with us throughout the night. But we're not going to dismiss any angles for sure. But right now, immediately, we don't know of anything like that.
The sheriff says that members of the Guthrie family, they have been incredibly cooperative in doing
kind of like the sheriff,
everything they can to try and help in the search for their mom. Savannah Guthrie, she was slated to host Olympic coverage from Italy, which starts on Friday, February 6th. But CNN is reporting that she will no longer be doing that, as she is in Tucson as this search for her mom continues. This is the statement from the Guthrie family that they first put out in the wake of Nancy's abduction. It says, quote, "On behalf of our family, I want to thank everyone for the thoughts, prayers, and messages of support. Right now, our focus remains on the safe return of our dear mom. We thank law enforcement for their hard work on this case and encourage anyone with information to contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for tonight. Thank you guys for being here. It's 2:45 a.m. And we'll keep an eye on this one. Hopefully it turns out, that she's alive. But it's just, I don't know what kind of sick bastard does stuff like that. But they're out there. They're absolutely out there. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Thank you for being here. We almost had 200 people watching at 3 a.m. Very cool. You guys are awesome. And we will see you probably tomorrow. Or today, I guess. Tomorrow. All the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lab After Dark is starting shortly. After Dark is starting. Lab After Dark is starting.
Right. Well, you opened that Pandora's door.
Down the feed, but whatever.
We're now on day 3 in the search for today's show host Savannah Guthrie's mom.
Straight to the dome and straight to the throat.
Starts now.